Welcome back to the channel, guys. Well, today I am rather excited because I finally got my grubby little mitts on the new Yamaha R9. Now, I've been asking Yamaha all year to get a loan on this bike, and it's taken until September until they had one available. I think this has just been a bit of a nightmare with actually sort of delivery of these machines. I think a lot of them have gone to sort of race series and customers, of course, but yeah, finally I've got my hands on a new R9. So in this video I'm going to take this out for a little bit of a thrash around my local test route and basically see what this machine is like. I'm really quite excited about this. So if you're interested in the new Yamaha R9, then this is the video for you. So settle yourselves down, make yourself comfortable, and Chopsy, roll the intro. So the new Yamaha R9. Now, as I said at the beginning, I've been trying to get hold of this bike all season and Yamaha just haven't had them available. I think they had two and then somebody crashed one and then they were down to one. So I think this is the only press bike Yamaha have of an R9, which is a bit unusual. You know, when a model is new out, they normally have a few in, but anyway, it's taken till now to get on it. And of course, this year I've ridden bikes like the new Ducati Panigale V2, which I absolutely love. You know, that's got a higher handlebar. And when I saw this come out, and after riding the Panigale, I was like, what are Yamaha thinking? Why have they made the R9 so extreme? Why is it not set up for more of a road-focused riding position? You know, why is it so racy? Of course they want to race this bike, but why can't they do like a race kit where you get lower clip-ons and make it more of a comfortable road-based machine? So I was ready to sort of have a little bit of a moan about that. But after jumping on this and after riding this around for the last two and a half weeks, yeah, I've had this quite a while, lucky bugger, but straight away I absolutely loved this riding position. Now, I've recently also had the S1000RR, the new BMW S1000RR, and that's got a similar riding position to this. So if you're aware of how the S1000RR feels, which I've sort of called that a sports tourer in the past, well, the R9 feels very similar to the S1000RR from a riding position point of view. The pegs are not too extreme, so you can put your feet up on the pegs without to sort of hoik your legs up. So the pegs are a reasonable height for a sports bike. And the bars, even though they are below the yokes, I've sort of not found it too uncomfortable. I think they've positioned these so look, it's in the middle between the R7 and what the R1 was like. So the handlebar position is in the middle of between the R7 and the R1. And I found the R1 pretty comfortable as well when I borrowed that last year. So yeah, I've actually was all set to moan about the riding position on this and say, why haven't Yamaha made it more comfortable? But after living with it for a couple of weeks, I absolutely love this sort of racy feel. So it is racy, but it's also not too extreme for a sports bike. So similar to the S1000RR. So yeah, riding position, ergos, I'm actually quite like it. So Yamaha, all is forgiven. I was going to moan about the riding position, but I've got used to it. I love it. Another thing which really impressed me when I jumped on this was just how much fun it is. I don't think I've ridden a sports bike which is just, well, the Panigale V2, that is also a lot of fun, but this is incredible as well. It really handles that power delivery from that CP3 motor is really impressive. The way it picks up pace, and for a road bike, you know, it's got loads of drive in the mid-range, and that makes it brilliant on the road. I actually think the sort of bottom end pull is equivalent to the S1000RR. So on the road, sort of just whizzing around little roads like this, I think it's as fast as an S1000RR. Now, it's not until the top end that things sort of run out of power a little bit. The gearing is different to what is on the MT-09. It's definitely taller geared than the MT-09, but it still feels really pokey. the way it accelerates and pulls is impressive, really impressive. I mean, this bike has supposedly got 117 horsepower and I think 93 newton meters of torque. It feels like way more than that. It's definitely enough to keep your sort of hooligan side happy. I mean, it'll pick the front up over crests. You don't need all of the power it's got. There's always a little bit left in reserve. You can play around the bottom and the mid-range, and the handling of the bike, oh, let's come on to that, is absolutely divine. It's got KYB fully adjustable suspension, both front and rear, and I think the front forks even have like high and low speed compression damping as well, so you've got like an extra level of adjustment. And the way they've got it set up, it's beautifully plush on the road, but it also offers really good support. So the suspension's amazing. I'm really impressed with the setup on here. It feels plush, you've got loads of support, and it doesn't crash over the bumps, or I've never had it sort of bang through the stroke. And now I'm a 20 stone fatty and I found the setup on this excellente. Yamaha, you were spoiling us. Oh, let's slow it all down. That is one of the big problems with this machine. It makes you want to go fast. And with this riding position, and this is something I always say about sports bikes, cruise control is an absolute must on a sports bike. And thankfully, you know, all that stuff is here. This bike is fully loaded from an electronics point of view. So yeah, the riding position does put a bit of weight on your wrist, but then you use the cruise control just to stretch yourself out when you get to a slower bit of road. So it's cruise control of sports bikes, to make it enjoyable on the road, is an absolute must, and this pulls it off. So you've got cruise control, you've got slide, you've basically got all the electronics from the R1. So slide control, wheelie control, separate to traction control. So I've actually turned off the wheelie control in the custom modes. You've got two custom modes where you can play around with things, adjust the traction, adjust the lift control, adjust the slide control. You can even turn off ABS on the rear. It's all lean sensitive, really, really sophisticated stuff, and really easy to use, more to the point. That's what good electronics is all about, isn't it? Ease of use. There's no point having all these features if it's too complicated to work out how to use it. So I've been really impressed with that. I think this also has the navigation as well, so it's got the Garmin navigation built in. Yeah, this is a super sport. Well, is it a super sport? Not really, but it's a sports bike. It's impressive. 12,254 pounds, I think this bike is, and it's a lot of bike for the money, I tell you. Sounds absolutely incredible. I mean, all of the noise comes out the airbox, but that induction roar is really good. Oh, it's getting a bit bumpy there. Quick shifter flipper works faultlessly. One thing I did notice is on the MT-09 SP, you could do downshifts while you're accelerating. I don't think you can on this one. I tried it earlier. Let me try it now. Oh, it does. Oh, it does. I did play around with the settings on this, and I've enabled it now. It must have been turned off. So quick shifter flipper, brilliant, but you can also do full throttle downshift. So you can have the throttle open like that and downshift, and that's optional. I mean, you can turn it on and off. That was turned off. That's why I thought it didn't have it on here. I was surprised, but it did. Brake performance is also very good. You've got the Stylema calipers on this now and the Brembo master cylinder. It doesn't give a massive amount. It still feels that it's okay. I mean, it's not the best brakes I've ever tried, but I'm going to say for a Yamaha it's very good. That's a terrible thing to say, but you know, the Japanese and their braking feel is never that great. But they've put Stylemas on this, they've put braided lines on this, they've got a Brembo master cylinder on this, and the brakes are perfect. They're good. I'm going to say they're good. They give load of power and a pretty reasonable feel. Not the best brakes I've ever used, but certainly nothing wrong with them, and I would say actually good, in fact. Let's give credit where credit's due. Yeah, the brakes are good. One thing I noticed when I jumped on it, and you can probably tell now, the screen, if I'm 6'2", it's at a bit of a funny angle. The screen, it's almost like I need to tilt the screen back a little bit. That would be a slight criticism for, you know, I think if you're a bit shorter, you may not notice that screen, but I'm sort of looking down through the sort of sun visor on the screen. It's not obstructing any of the view of the TFT, but the screen just seems like it needs tilting back slightly. Obviously, I guess that was where it could sit with the fairing and everything. It's okay. I've got used to it. When I first jumped on it, I was like, oh, that screen's at a funny angle. The difference from this bike to, say, the MT-09 or even the XSR 900 GP is the R9 has a completely new frame. So this frame is completely different to the MT-09 setup. Much more rigid. It's actually lighter as well. There's 9.7 kilos, the frame on this bike. Yamaha is saying it's the lightest frame they've ever made. And it's more rigid as well. And this is why this bike, I think, feels different compared to the XSR. The XSR GP, even though it had similar sort of suspension and equipment, and it's a similar price to this, that felt a little bit plusher. Obviously, that had the more comfortable ergonomics. So if you're looking for a sports bike from Yamaha which has more comfortable ergos, the GP sort of fits that bill. This does feel more racy, and you can tell there's no wallow at all within the chassis of this. It's absolutely rock solid. Have to be a little bit careful that it's a bit wet, unfortunately. Let's see if we can have a little bit of fun though. You know, you can just hang out the seat. The seat's really wide. You're locked into the tank. It really pulls. It's a hell of a lot of fun, this. So while we're pulled over, let's have a quick look through the details of the new Yamaha R9. So up front, first of all, we have Brembo Stylema calipers. These are very nice. And also, look at this, braided brake lines. So Stylema calipers, braided brake lines. As I've mentioned, the brakes are pretty good. I'd say pretty good for a Yamaha. KYB suspension, which is fully adjustable on this model, and I do think the suspension has a lovely feel, the perfect balance between sort of sport and comfort for a sports bike. So big fan of the suspension setup. The R9 now has winglets. It has these small little winglets on the front there. Yamaha say these give something like 9% downforce, but they don't say at what speed. So I think they create a little bit of stability, but I don't think they do that much. I think it's more of a styling exercise to get some wings on this bike, as that is the done thing. But I quite like the way they've styled them. I think they integrate with the front really rather nicely. They don't look like aftermarket bolt-ons. It's all very well integrated. So yeah, I do actually quite like those, I have to say. I love the top yoke on this with like the milled out pieces. I think that looks really cool. I really like what Yamaha do with their top yokes. It's very MotoGP. And I also really like all the vents in the tank cover here as well. It gives it a really racy sort of look. So big fan of that. I'm undecided whether I like the styling of the back end or not with the sort of raised rear seat. Now, it's not much of a rear seat, is it? I wouldn't like to sit on that, but if you had to, I suppose you could get on it. But I think I like the back end. I think I like it, but I'm still a little bit undecided. It's got like the R1 with the single sort of lamp at the back. Yeah, I think I like the back end styling. I think so. Rear suspension is also fully adjustable, and you have a remote preload adjuster as well. Hang on, we better wind that up. Fatty spec. I'm actually finding sports bikes pretty comfortable because you tend to get a nice wide seat on sports bikes, and because I've got a nice wide ass, I actually fit onto the seats quite well on sports bikes, and I find them quite comfortable. Because you've got weight on the wrists as well, it alleviates some of the weight off your bottom. So yeah, the actual comfort on this bike is pretty good. Well, seat comfort that is, because it's nice and wide, pretty decent amount of padding. Hang on, saying that. Reasonable, it's a bit thin here, but it's comfortable enough for short distances, very short. Here is that legendary CP3 motor. This is a great lump in this bike. I can see why Yamaha have made the R9 based on this. It's been going, what, 10 years plus, the CP3 motor, 117 horsepower, I think 93 Newton meters of torque. It's just a lovely, lovely power plant, this one. As with all the bikes with the CP3 motor, they use this same underslung exhaust system, which it's pretty hideous, if I'm honest. This is something I don't like on the Yamahas. If this was mine, I could not live with that exhaust. They do an optional Akropovich, of course they do, but I think it's close to £2,000. So that's a lot of money if you want to lose that system and keep your Yamaha warranty. So just bear that in mind. And that is probably about it. Let's jump back on again. Let's do a higher geared pull, so 4th gear at 30 miles an hour. 60. So you can see it's pretty reasonable, isn't it? Let's do a little bit of a launch on it just for fun. Now, I have got the lift control off, so I'm going to be a little bit tentative, but let's have a go. Listen to that. Another gear there somewhere. Yeah, it's fast. It's very easy to get off the line, actually. There was no real wheel lift there. I was a little bit tentative, so I didn't want to be fighting the wheelie, but it didn't really come up. But it just puts that power down and accelerates away. Yeah, it's lovely. And I love the noise from that CP3 motor. What a noise. That flipper's so good. Let's have a little bit of chucking around here. Oh, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I assumed I'd know exactly how this was going to feel to ride. I was thinking, I've spent enough time on the XSR 900 GP, on MT-09s to sort of, I know this platform very well. And when I jumped on this, I was like, yeah, oh, okay, the bars are low. But as soon as I set off on it, and as soon as you give it a bit of throttle, I was like, this feels a little bit different. This doesn't feel just like an MT-09 with the fairing on and some drop bars. It absolutely doesn't. Yamaha have done much more work to this than just that. It feels like a completely different bike. It doesn't feel like it's, like I say, it's just an MT-09 with fairing on. Absolutely not. It's got a very, it's got a grown-up feel to it, I'd say. The MT-09, well, and the XSR GP, I suppose, to a degree, they feel a bit more toy-like. I guess there's more emphasis on them being playful, with the wheel coming up. I guess not so much the XSR, but of course the MT-09 has. This feels a little bit serious. Not too serious, because it's still a hell of a lot of fun. I don't think you can make a serious bike with this engine in. I'm going to spin it around here. But it's got it feels like it would be a proper weapon on track, this. I have to say, I haven't had time to take this on track. I really would have liked to have done a bit of a track day on this, but it's the end of the season, the weather's starting to turn, and I haven't been able to take it on track. Next year I will. So that's up through the gears, and you're not into jail speeds with this sort of bike. You could not do that on an S1000RR, or you would be in jail. This has got performance you can use on the road. A sports bike you can use on the road that still feels like a really serious bit of kit. It's not like the old super sport bikes, like the R6 for example, whereas it was so flat and everything was at the top, so you had to like rev it all the time. This engine delivers so much grunt, you can just ride it in the lower rev ranges and still make really good progress. And if you do want to open it, but when you do really open it up, it's probably not as fast as you think it's going to be, because it's got all that grunt, all that pull. You're expecting R1 performance when the needle starts to get around the upper echelons, but it's a little bit, is that it? I thought it was going to be a bit more than that. But it does still pick up speed really well. When you're sat on the bike, it feels a bit like an R1. It looks a bit like an R1, doesn't it? That looks very R1-like, especially with the tank and the top yoke. It's got that sort of R1 feel about it. And I really like that. You don't feel like you're on I know this is currently Yamaha's sort of premium sports bike, now the R1's disappeared from the lineup. But it's definitely got a big bike feel to it, and I really like that. We want to get past this fella. See ya. So it definitely feels more focused. I think it's that extra rigidity with the frame than what the XSR GP feels like. More serious. If I took it on track, I can tell it would be fantastic, especially somewhere like Brands Hatch or Donington Park as well would probably be okay. It's to compare it to the Panigale I guess feels a little bit more punchy than this. That new V2 motor is incredible the way it picks up pace, and you're a little bit more comfortable on the Panigale. But this is very good, much better than I thought it was going to be. Really, as our trip up the hill climb was ruined, let's see if we can get a decent run downhill. Bearing in mind it is a little bit wet still, it was raining a lot earlier on. The front end is really precise. It doesn't really sort of run wide, you know, it holds the line really well. When you do go on the front brake, there's barely any weight transfer, if I'm honest. And you can just sort of feather it in. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. It's very rewarding. And it does egg you on as well. There's a very playful side to it. Even though it feels serious, it's definitely got a real playful side, and it eggs you to push it faster. The brakes give you that confidence to go faster as well, because there's nothing worse than having brakes which are a bit wooden or don't give you the feel you want to sap all confidence to push on. But this has got everything. Wow, a bit of grit in the road there. This has got everything to enable you to push it and have fun in confidence. Negatives, honestly, I can't think of any negatives. I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but I really can't think of any negatives. I mean, I was going to say, why have they made the bar so low? Why have they made it such an extreme riding position? But I don't think it is. I think it's acceptable. I can't think of anything I don't like. I even like, you know, I'm getting used to this sort of new indicator arrangement. That's fine, it's easy to use without looking. The switch gear's busy, but you've got the cruise control. The electronics are top of the line. There's really nothing to complain about. I think if you can live with the riding position, and I'd say don't discount this bike because you think it's going to be too extreme. Give it a try, it would be my suggestion. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The cruise control works very well, but it won't activate below 29 miles an hour. So if I try and put the cruise on now, it won't let me. So if you want to put it on through a 30, you've got to make sure you're going above 30. Actually, it won't do it in second gear. You've got to be in third, minimum of third gear as well. It's another little restriction on the cruise. But as long as you're in third and you're above 28 miles an hour, you can bang the cruise on. So just sort of coming through 30s and stuff is lovely with that cruise. And it's really easy to use. You've got a little toggle there just to increase and reduce your speed. Like I say, I can't think of anything bad to say about this. I always like to sort of follow up the reviews and sort of mention a few little niggles, a few things I'd like to see improved. Nah, nothing's coming to mind. This is not a soft bike. This has very much a big bike feel to it, and I really, really like that about it. And I guess maybe that's what I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting this to feel like a proper sports bike. I thought it might be a bit soft, you know, it wouldn't be really tickle the boxes if you wanted a sports bike on the road, but it really does, I have to say. I have been very impressed with this. What I like about the R9 is it gives you performance without scaring yourself. On the S1000RR, it's very easy to scare yourself. On this, you can still scare yourself, don't get me wrong. It's a fast bike, but you're up through the box, you're using the gears, sounds incredible. It's accessible performance, that's what it is, accessible performance. And on a road bike, it's what you want, isn't it? And this will also double up and make a pretty decent track machine. You've got grunt just to whip past cars like that. It's hard to ride slowly. I was looking for negatives, wasn't I? That's certainly a negative. It really eggs you on to go faster than you probably should. Would be, I think, the only criticism I can leverage at this. Quick shifter blipper works incredibly well. Oh, there's no bad points here. This is a lot of fun. You know, you can really push it. These sorts of roads are ideal for it because you'll never be able to unleash anything more than 100 horsepower down here anyway. So this is absolutely perfect. So if you want to stick to sort of back lane scratching, it's ideal. But there we are, a very quick look at the new Yamaha R9. It was worth the wait. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.